There are two that I hear most frequently today. The first is around cash on cash. The question is, for those general partners that have had 10 years plus of experience, how does their DPI look like in terms of the cash that they're returning? Because they seem to have very good paper valuations and performing portfolios, but the amount of cash coming back is limited. And that's very straightforward. That has to be addressed proactively by general partners. The other aspect of the marketplace is one that revolves around the investors chasing the general growth of the region. And with some of the dynamics changed in some of the larger markets in the region, there's a hesitation and a kind of move to other geographies or other type of areas in the world. And I think there, for me, I've never associated growth in terms of a geographic growth or a country growth with performance, and I've always been bottom-up oriented, trying to find the best general partners that one can find. And so I think there will be the adaptability, and those general partners that perform will distinguish themselves and will, of course, have the support of the investors that one would see. Well, it's interesting because, for me, I've been at this now for almost 25 years. So when I look at the marketplace, I'm really a very bottom-up person. So I try to find the most talented people and try to understand if they have the governance, the structure, the pipeline, the resources, and the ability to deliver the types of returns we're looking for, which is 2.5x net type plus performance on a fund basis, which means that as these professionals form themselves in various markets in Asia Pacific, we are trying to identify them and work with them. On the other hand of the equation, when one looks at the flow of capital, there's a couple of trends that are distinguishing themselves at the moment. One of them is developed Asia. There's definitely a look by investors, especially in areas that they're underexposed, like Japan, trying to understand how and they can gain exposure. Recently there's been a wave of activity in Korea, for example, and Australia is always a very strong and regular performer. The other aspect is that certain markets like India has been very overlooked or under invested in recent years, and by default over time investors end up being underallocated and will again always go to these markets to seek to find interest. As the industry matures, the general partners will have the necessary experience to understand how to move more into control-oriented type of investments, and through that they're able to manage much more coherently and visibly the performance of their funds, always looking at ensuring a 2.5x type of performance plus, which is what the investors are looking for, coupled with as low a loss ratio as possible, coupled with a 5% or 500 basis points, you'd like to say, outperformance of public market equivalents. So there's a series of things on the fund basis that they need to do. And this also involves them being able to communicate their strategy, communicate their execution, communicate the dynamics of their portfolio, and be very transparent. All of this is coming, and it will come with time, because a lot of these general partners now have international global investor base, and the demands and the requirements of the investors are quite extensive. So by default, they will all conform and develop into very strong businesses over time. Operational value add is a complete reality. However, you've got to make sure that you need to understand that the general partner is able to create that type of value add. In many cases, it's a partnership with management where management has those skill sets. There are certain regions of the world where the general partners are the CEOs or CFOs of those portfolio companies for periods of up to 5 years and then return back into the partnership. We haven't seen that type of model in Asia at this time. It's a bit more the American type model in terms of its early days of involvement, but ultimately that will come. But operational is very much what it's all about. It's a looking at being able to drive earnings and own responsibly your investments.